the rap world just stopped breathing. Out of nowhere, Kendrick Lamar has pulled an unimaginable move, calling on the legendary Rakim to deliver what many are already calling the final blow in his escalating war with Drake. Hip-hop blogs lit up instantly. Twitter went nuclear. Hashtag Kendrick's Rakim was trending within minutes. Fans didn't just witness another diss. They saw history bending in real time. The modern king of lyricism teaming with one of the greatest architects of days. The culture itself. Even industry insiders are whispering, this isn't a battle anymore, it's a funeral march for Drake's throne. The question now is, how deep does this collaboration go? What's coming next? And can Drake possibly recover from a 1-2 punch that no one saw coming? Buckle up, because this story isn't just rap beef, it's hip-hop history being written in fire. The lights of Los Angeles had already begun to dim as another night in the city of stars turned cold and tense. Hip-hop's streets, not the physical ones, but the invisible network of studios. Deems, private jet lounges, and whispered conversations felt heavy. For weeks, the war between Kendrick Lamar and Drake had slowed to a strange silence. No new verses, no subliminals, no sly lines tucked into features. Fans thought maybe it had burned out. Maybe it was over. Maybe two of the greatest rappers of this generation had decided to let history cool instead of setting it on fire. But Kendrick Lamar is not a man who moves on impulse. He moves like a ghost general, silent, calculating, waiting for the exact moment when his opponent feels safest, then striking with precision. And in the heart of that silence, somewhere in a low-lit studio that smelled of coffee and vinyl, Kendrick made a phone call that would shift the balance of power in hip-hop forever. That call wasn't to a producer. It wasn't to a label. It wasn't even to a trusted top dog lieutenant. It was to a legend, to Rakim, the God MC, the man who rewired what a rap verse could even be. The man who laid the intellectual foundation for decades of lyricists. The architect who turned hip-hop from party anthems into coded language, poetry, and prophecy. Kendrick wasn't just asking for a verse. He was asking for something bigger, a blessing, a bridge. A weapon that no modern-day chart king could defend against in a world obsessed with virality. Kendrick had reached for lineage, while other rappers chased beats designed to win TikTok. Dances he went backwards to the root of the craft, to the man whose pen opened the door Kendrick himself had walked through. He wasn't building hype, he's building a historical moment. Industry insiders, the ones who trade in information, like stocks, didn't even see it coming. Not a whisper, not a hint. The leak culture of hip-hop had nothing. That's how deep and tight this play was kept. No studio selfies, no name drops, no emoji hints on Instagram stories. Just quiet until a single tweet from @TheGoDrakeem appeared. At 3:17 a.m., some moves aren't made for money. They're made for the culture. #timeless. The internet cracked like glass. Forums on Reddit lit up instantly. Threads stretched into hundreds of comments in minutes. Some fans didn't believe it. Others immediately went into full-blown analysis mode, pulling together old Kendrick interviews where he spoke about Rakim as a formative influence, pairing them with Rakim's rare but glowing words about Kendrick's discipline and artistry. By sunrise, hashtags like #KendrickXrakim, #GodMick, and #FinalBlow were everywhere. Memes started flying. Fans joked that Drake probably threw his phone across the room. Reaction channels on YouTube began streaming without even having a track to react to. Just the idea of it was enough to draw hundreds of thousands of viewers, all waiting, refreshing, hungry. And here's where things get terrifying. Not for fans, but for Drake's camp. The psychology of expectation. When the culture starts believing a move is a checkmate, even before a single verse is heard, the battle shifts from bars to belief. Hip-hop is as much perception as it is skill. And perception just swung like a wrecking ball through Toronto's. Carefully built Empire.atadmiks went live with that half smile he gets when the story is bigger than the personalities in it. Yo, he said, leaning in, if this is real, and trust me, I just made a couple calls, if Kendrick really got Rakim on a joint aimed at Drake, this ain't rap beef no more. This is a cultural coup. This is a son standing beside the father of the form, saying, we close this story now. Meanwhile, at Top Dog it stayed dead quiet. No tweets, no IG posts. It's just a subtle move. Updating their banner to a black background with a faint white crown cracked through the middle. No caption, no context, just imagery. Fans screenshotted it instantly. Within an hour, people were using that cracked crown as their profile picture. The unofficial signal that something irreversible was about to happen. Rakim himself, known for his low public profile, stayed off camera. No interviews, no hints. But insiders in New York, people who had worked with him for decades, told private group chats that Rakim hadn't sounded this hungry in years. He's not coming to feature, one source claimed. He's coming to finish something. And just like that, the clock started ticking. Not because anyone announced a release date, they didn't have to. In hip-hop, sometimes the silence is the announcement by midday. The story wasn't just in the forums anymore, it had escaped. It was on at Complex, at XXL, at Billboard. Even mainstream outlets like at CNN Entertainment, who rarely touched rap beef unless it turned into police reports. But this wasn't beef anymore. This was legacy warfare, and the smell of smoke was drifting out of the culture and into the mainstream air. In the background, LA felt electric. Producers, engineers, videographers, everybody was moving different. Some phones weren't getting answered. Flights were being booked quietly. Studio doors were locked, windows covered, NDAs suddenly on the table. And in the middle of all of it, at Kendrick Lamar's social media went dead. No likes, no tweets, no posts. Not even his usual mysterious small gestures. Fans knew what that meant. He was deep in it. Locked in at the same time, subtle ripples began showing in Toronto. At Champagnepapab, usually active on Instagram, posted a single story. A blurry shot of a studio monitor playing something no one could hear. Just a caption, never scared, never moved. Within minutes, the comment sections were on fire. Some of Drake's fans clapped back, saying he was unfazed. Others warned that a chess master doesn't tweet mid-match unless he's already on the ropes. The mood was shifting. Drake's empire wasn't crumbling, but it was shaking, and that's when something even stranger happened. A small unknown, account one that rarely posted anything, suddenly uploaded a grainy black and white 20-second clip. No audio, just Rakim in a dim studio, head down, pen moving across paper. A single line of text in the corner, for the ones who built the house. Hashtag final blow at Kendrick Lamar at Rakim. It wasn't verified. It wasn't clear who leaked. But in less than an hour, it had 4 million views and 100,000 shares. Every major hip-hop outlet reposted it, dissected it, looped it, slowed it down. You could feel the industry's collective pulse speed up. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered about a track already recorded, but not mixed, not mastered. Something raw, volcanic, unpolished on purpose. A cut meant to sound like history, not radio. No auto-tune, no pop hooks, just 2 pens, one forged in the golden era, one sharpened in the modern slicing through an empire. With surgical cruelty, at TDE engineers went silent too. No leaks, no winks, no confirmation, but word. Drifted through trusted hands that the first 4 bars alone made grown men exhale like they'd been punched. One engineer allegedly said, "If this drops, nobody's safe." Not even the labels. This ain't about Drake anymore. It's about who owns the future of rap. Meanwhile, Drake's camp went dark. No playful bars, no surprise single, no cryptic owl posts, nothing. Even at Noah 40, normally a calm, grounding presence for Drake, posted a simple message on his private account. Respect to the architects, always. And that for fans reading between the lines felt like smoke curling under a locked door. A quiet acknowledgement that even Toronto knew this wasn't a battle of hits anymore. It was a war of heritage. As night fell, hip-hop Twitter turned into a digital stadium. You could almost hear the crowd. Every influencer, every journalist, every old head, every new wave fan, all in the same digital bleachers. Waiting for someone, anyone, to turn the key. Some begged Kendrick to drop. Others begged Drake to swing first. Some just posted crown. Emojis split in half. But somewhere deep in a studio under dim lights, two men, one from Compton, one from Long Island, weren't watching any of it. They weren't scrolling, weren't refreshing, weren't laughing at memes. They were rewriting the map of the game, quietly, carefully, and with the kind of calm that only comes from knowing exactly how hard you're about to hit. The world 2:17 a.m. Pacific. A random SoundCloud link appears on a private Discord server. Not from AT&T DE, not from AT&T TE, not from AT Aftermath, not from any verified handle, just a URL titled architects_final_blow.wav. At first, nobody believed it. Too random, too quiet. No promo, no leaks, no warning. But a few brave souls clicked play and instantly knew it was real. A dark, vinyl crackling beat slid in. No intro tags, no DJ shouts, no producer drops. Just raw drums and a bass line that felt like a heartbeat slowed down by fear. It wasn't hype, it wasn't flashy, it was surgical. Then the voice, calm/surgical, undeniable Rakim. When the ink hit the pad, kingdoms fell silent. I built the blueprint. Y'all just renting the island? Rap ain't a throne. It's a temple. Respect the assignment. The tone wasn't angry. It was final. Cold, clean, deliberate. A master laying out the genealogy of rap, like sacred scripture. One that made even his peers sit down, shut up, and listen. Then a breath. And at Kendrick Lamar stepped in, voice sharp, breath steady, like a sniper locking in. Compton raised. But the roots run deeper. You ain't battling me, you fighting the teacher. Drake made pop rap, but forgot the preacher. I called the God, now the sermon gone, reach ya. No chorus, no hooks, no filler, just verses like hammers swinging. Straight at the glass castle of mainstream rap. Every bar felt coded, like there were 10 meanings sitting under every single punchline. A few lines seemed to be aimed at Drake's biggest records, others at ghostwriting rumors, others quietly at the entire commercial machine that had protected him for over a decade. Social media detonated within 7 minutes. The link was everywhere. Twitter, IG stories, Reddit threads, private WhatsApp groups, Telegram leaks. Hip Hop DX had already posted. Genius was midnightation. Spotify execs were getting texts from their biggest artists. The servers hosting the track crashed twice. Even leak sites begged users not to refresh. At Champagne PAPI single quotes S last post. Flooded, not with memes, with declarations, coffin emojis, upside down, crowns, Bible verses flipped into battle bars, endless comments, reading, respond, or retire. Fans weren't laughing anymore. They were watching history. Even Drake's peers at the WEEKND, at Future, at Lil Tune Chi went silent. No cosigns, no laughter, no half jokes. Just the sound of a culture holding its breath while one of its pillars shook like never before. Podcasters fired up emergency streams. Spaces on Twitter filled to capacity in minutes. Academics screamed into his mic, "Brr, brr. Nah, this ain't a diss. This is hip-hop court." And the judge just banged the gavel. By 3 a.m., journalists were waking up editors, cutting together think pieces in real time. At Abrian, the morning went live screaming into the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing the death of an era. I'm telling y'all, this ain't just a beef. This is a generational funeral. Fans started dissecting subliminals. Nobody even noticed at first. Clever double entendres pointing at contracts, chart manipulation, corporate shields, even shots at silent executives. Hood. Been playing both sides for years. It wasn't just Drake under the scope anymore. The whole commercial machine looked like a castle of glass. Hash. Final Blow trended #1 globally. Hashtag Rakim shot to #2, and hashtag Drake Deadass trended 3rd. Fans, half joking, half serious, wondering if the man who dominated the charts for over a decade had finally been dethroned. Even rival camps were cautious. At J. Cole posted a single-piece dove emoji. At Nas posted a black square. At Eminem reposted a clip of Rakim from the 80s with a caption, "Respect the architect." Inside industry offices, phones rang non-stop. Label execs held 3 a.m. calls. Lawyers whispered about contracts. Streaming services prepped for a tidal wave of replays and re-uploads. Some insiders even claimed Universal made quiet calls asking for Drake's immediate response, not to protect his pride, to protect the money. By noon, mainstream news channels were covering it like a cultural earthquake. Rolling Stone called it a generational handoff, signed in blood. Complex went live from the street with fans literally screaming lyrics back at cameras. The New York Times headline read, "When hip-hop turns on itself, Rakim and Kendrick reshaped the game." But the craziest part? Drake still hadn't said a single word. No tweet, no post, no leak, no friend defending him, no studio pic with a mysterious caption. Nothing. Just silence, the loudest sound in music that day and in hip-hop. That silence doesn't feel like peace. It feels like war waiting to finish. By the time the sun crawled back over Los Angeles, hip-hop wasn't just buzzing, it was burning. Breakfast Club went live at 6 o'clock. Emmett C. Tage AGOD looked dead into the camera and said, "I told y'all, Kendrick don't throw pebbles. He throws earthquakes." And bringing Rakim, I ain't, a diss track. That's an obituary. Clips went viral instantly. Fans stitched, reposted, captioned. The torch wasn't passed. It was ripped out the fake king's hand. Every major outlet scrambled. At Complex, at Billboard, at Rolling Stone, at Hot New Hip Hop wall-to-wall coverage, each trying to frame it as either a respectful passing of the crown or the most brutal industry takedown since Nas vs. Jay. But one thing nobody could deny: the power dynamic had shifted overnight. Behind closed doors, it got ugly. Record labels started freezing marketing. Campaigns tied to Drake. Quietly. No press releases. Just sudden, suspicious silence on projects that were supposed to drop. Features started getting delayed. Playlists began reshuffling. Insiders whispered that certain execs weren't answering his calls. One anonymous A&R told a podcast, "Off the record, look, the brand is the bag. And right now, the brand is bleeding." Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar didn't post a single word. No cryptic emojis. No interviews. It's just silence. Deliberate, powerful silence. The kind that makes the world lean in. The kind that lets the culture write the script while the king sits back and watches it all unfold. And then there was Rakim, who did speak. One post. Black and white photo. Caption, "Respect the craft. Protect the culture." Hashtag the architect. Nothing more. But that alone sent blogs into frenzy. Fans started decoding like detectives, asking, was this a warning shot? Was the war over before it even began? Or had hip-hop just entered its most dangerous new chapter? Theories went wild. Some claimed Drake was crafting a nuclear-level response, that he'd flown in secret producers, that ghostwriters were on. emergency overtime that at OVO engineers had been locked down in 18-hour studio sessions. Others said the opposite, that the silence was strategic retreat, a recognition that responding would only feed the flames and validate the blow. And then came the leak. At 3:13 p.m., an unverified Twitter account posted a blurry photo of Drake. In the studio, head in hands, phone on the console, no caption. It's just OVO in emergency mode. Within minutes, hashtag #Pre4Drake trended alongside hashtag Drake vs Kendrick and hashtag RAKIM. Memes went feral, cartoon crowns sliding off. Funeral memes with playlists attached. Fake press releases claiming Drake had stepped down as king. But for every joke, there was a serious undercurrent, an understanding that the game had shifted. This wasn't just about bars anymore. It was about legacy. For years, Drake's run had been unquestioned. Art dominance, pop cultural omnipresence, a blend of street credibility and mainstream polish that nobody seemed able to touch. But Kendrick, with one phone call to a legend, had reminded the culture that authenticity still holds weight, that the pen still matters, that sometimes the crown isn't earned by streams, but by respect. And with Rakim in the mix, it wasn't even a fair fight anymore. It was the genre's founding DNA staring its shiny pop future in the eyes and saying, "We built this. Don't get it twisted." By evening, corporate PR departments were holding emergency briefings. Publicists were fielding calls from news anchors who suddenly cared about lyricism like it was a Supreme Court case. Academics were drafting essays about generational tension in black art. Even Wall Street noticed Universal's stock dipped after speculative chatter about brand instability in flagship hip-hop assets. And still no response from Drake. Fans began begging him online, "Say something. Don't let them write the ending. We need the sixth god back. Hashtag take care to drop the bomb." But deep down, even the most loyal at Champaganappa stands felt it. The air had shifted. The silence wasn't buying time anymore, was feeding the narrative. Every hour without a verse, without a statement, without even a sarcastic IG story, it felt like defeat tightening around the edges. Meanwhile, a quiet but massive wave of artists started posting tributes to @Kendrick Lamar and @Rakim. Clips of Rakim's early days resurfaced, TikToks explaining his influence flooded For You pages. Teenagers discovering Eric B as president for the first time called it the original Drake killer. Threads compiled top 10 Rakim bars that aged like prophecy. Suddenly, the story wasn't Drake's dominance. It was Kendrick and Rakim's alignment, a literal bridge between the roots and the present. A co-signed message from hip-hop itself. Respect the lineage or get out of the way by midnight. One final shock hit. A quiet update on all major streaming platforms. The track, no longer a leak, no longer underground, was now officially uploaded under the title The Architect's Final Testament Artist, Kendrick Lamar, Rakim. Label, none. Independent, and that was the loudest message yet. No label, no rollout, no corporate backing, just two of the greatest alive. Stepping out of the machine to dismantle it in broad daylight, journalists scrambled to confirm what it meant for contracts, for royalties, for the industry at large. Forums declared this the greatest live hip-hop chess move since Ether. And fans, they just listened. It's over and over and over, treating it not as a diss, but as scripture. And in that silence, Drake's empire didn't explode. It eroded, not with a bang, but with every stream that wasn't his. With every fan who suddenly saw through the polish. With every exec quietly wondering if the king they built their house on had just been quietly, permanently dethroned. And still, no response. Not a word. Just the sound of a dynasty turning to dust. And that's where we leave it tonight. A culture on edge, crown in question, and a silence louder than any diss track ever recorded. But the question is now yours. Is this the end of Drake's reign, or just the calm before his most dangerous move yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you stand with @Kendrick Lamar and @Rakim, defending the roots, the pen, the purity of the craft? Or are you riding with @Champagne PAPI, waiting for the sixth god to rise and rewrite the story? Either way, one thing's certain, hip-hop has not felt this alive, this unpredictable, this explosive in years. Stay locked in, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because when the next move drops, you're going to want to be right here with us. #Kendrick vs. Drake. #RAKIM returns. #hip hop history. #stay tuned.